Welcome back, friends. This video is all about evaluation and feedback for your virtual training. When you're doing your virtual training, you definitely want to get evaluation of it and feedback. And this is to help you to inform your practice. It's a never-ending cycle. You get some evaluation and feedback, you implement something different, then you get some more evaluation and feedback, you take it back, you plan something different. It's a beautiful, beautiful cycle. It also helps us to be more responsive to our learners' needs. So, to that end, I would tell you that you should think about getting learner feedback throughout your virtual training. Although you certainly could just receive it at the end, I would encourage you to get evaluation and feedback throughout the beginning, middle, and end of your training. And then finally, I want you to look at evaluation coming from multiple angles or multiple perspectives. So we're going to look at some of these perspectives in the next few slides. So the first angle that we're going to look at is self-reflection. So you as the trainer, you are going to do some self-reflection. Of course you are, right? So the first question you might ask in self-reflection is, okay, wait, looking at the outcomes, did my virtual training strategy, did it achieve the outcomes that I was expecting? You might also ask yourself questions about whether the technology that was used, whether that was appropriate or not. This question I love. You also want to look at the approach. So would you recommend the approach that you used to a colleague? A colleague that you'd like, by the way, one that you want to succeed. And then finally, you would ask yourself, is there something I would change, or would I do something differently next time to improve my virtual training? So that's self-reflection, and that's just the beginning. So the next type of evaluation or feedback that you could receive is from a peer, a trusted colleague who knows good training when they see it, right? So the first thing that you might ask them to evaluate would be, you might ask them to have a look at the design of your virtual training. So was a virtual class or a webinar or a podcast or e-learning the most appropriate design for the content on which you're training? Or maybe you might ask them to have a look at your structure. So maybe they might reshuffle and put milestone 4 where milestone 2 is, or maybe they might change up the activities. They would have suggestions. You could also ask them for feedback on your activities themselves. So remember that production planner, you could look at this and see, well, I have an activity that's going to be related to the greatest story ever told. Now, is just telling a story the most appropriate activity or not? And so your colleagues will definitely be able to give you excellent feedback on your training. Now, the next type of feedback that you can get is from your learners. This is another angle for you. So maybe the most common one is to do a survey. And you can survey your learners with a really short Google form at the end, or even you could ask them to do it during the training process. Like if you're having a virtual class and there are multiple sessions, you might want to do a survey throughout the training process. So here's an example of one of my training satisfaction surveys that I did at the end of a virtual workshop. And I asked the learners, anonymously of course, how they felt about each presenter, the topic, the value. And what you'll be able to see is that the Google form was able to give me the responses in a really neat report. So consider using surveys to get learner feedback. You could also consider using focus groups. So you could have a small group of learners that you will meet with to discuss their particular feedback on that training. And you could do this very easily via a video conferencing application. And the last type of learner feedback, I would recommend you get some testimonials. Now, typically this would be done towards the end, and you can have it done anonymously where you're capturing 1 or 2 words or maybe a sentence. Or if your learners feel comfortable, you could have them do it not anonymously. They can identify themselves and give you a quote. I also like video testimonials. Those are really excellent as well. And the final type of feedback that you can receive is going to be learner data. So, of course, whenever we're doing any type of training, we want to provide data-driven instruction. So that means we are going to make some decisions, we're going to plan, reflect, collect data, and analyze it. Now, if you're doing a virtual training, the beautiful thing is data will be collected on your behalf by whatever platform you're using. There's so much that you can get. You can get information on your learner's activity, you can get information on their progress. You can get information on their submissions. You can get information on their interactions. So if you see here an interaction, if you just had an e-learning module and it was a video or maybe even a podcast, an interaction could be something like a view, a like, a comment. You could even look at their grades. So, those four angles of evaluation and feedback are going to be self-reflection, peer feedback, learner feedback, and learner data. I guarantee if you look at your virtual training through all of these angles, you will have a very good picture of what's going well, what's not going so well, and you'll probably even have some really great suggestions. That'll do it for me. See you in the next one.